Yes, welcome in. It's Hold My Banner. George Balekji, Ountae Campbell here with you guys. Hey, 4 episodes in a row, a little Grateful Dead.
Yes, sir. You kept your promise. You kept your promise. I love it.
Say, how we doing today, Mom?
I'm doing good. I watched a couple WNBA games last night. Quick shout out to the Golden State Valkyries. What an amazing season they had. Obviously, Veronica Burton, hometown hero out here from Newton, Mass, and friend of the program, Natalie Nakaze, both winning WNBA awards. Most improved player for Burton, and then obviously with Coach Nakaze winning Coach of the Year last night. Great opportunity for them. Inaugural season. I think they exceeded everybody's expectations, besides their own probably. Yes. They wanted to win it, but season, still proud of them nonetheless. So it was great.
Natalie Nakaze, too, avid Chipotle fan, because that's where you ran into her, right? When you were home.
Yeah.
Like, hey, come on the show. And obviously very, very generous with her time. Came on Banner a while back. Check out that episode. We got a good episode for you guys today. John Karalis of the Boston Sports Journal is joining us. Talk about the Celtics, how they're looking this season, front court, back court battles, and all that. We'll also take a look at what the Celtics can look like 3 years from now, not just this year, because everything is long versus short term. Plus, we got previews of the Bulls and Pistons coming up. But let's bring them in. Friend of the program, John Karalis of the Boston Sports Journal, covers the Boston Celtics. John, how are we doing, my man? Thanks for joining the show.
I'm doing great. How are you gentlemen doing today?
Doing well. Itching for the season to get here. Itching for training camp to start.
Dying
then preseason, finally season again.
Show up so we have new things to talk about.
Exactly. Now, I mean, so the big picture, obviously, before we get to training camp, we get a better picture of what the starting five could look like, what this team can look like. To not really like day one of training camp, but what are you looking for that you want to get out of this Celtics team, say when training camp closes and then the page turns towards a regular season?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're looking for some clarity in a starting lineup. I've got 7 guys that I think can be legitimate starters in different combinations. I kind of want to see what Anthony Simons has for the Celtics. This is going to be an interesting preseason for him. We've, I think, mostly kind of ignored him in general across the Celtics media landscape because everybody just assumed he was going to be traded by this time. And now it looks like he's going to be sticking around, at least to start the season. So what does he have? Does he start? Does he come off the bench? What impact does he have on Jaylen Brown, Derek White? How much pressure does he take off of those guys? Is he going to be a guy that buoys that second unit? And then, Neemias Queta, can he be your starting center? All of these little questions that have been kind of lingering throughout the summer. I'm looking forward to getting a little clarity, and I know it's only 4 preseason games, but I am looking forward to some clarity in some of these kind of burning questions heading in.
Yeah, a burning question that I have going into this is like, what's going to happen with these young wings? We got a couple of guys. We got Hugo Gonzalez, who just got drafted. You got Jordan Walsh. You got Baylor Scheierman. And you talked about a guy that, we haven't really talked about much in Anthony Simons. I want to talk about another guy that a lot of Boston media hasn't been talking about with Josh Minott. What is his impact going to be with the Boston Celtics this year?
So Minott is an interesting guy because you're right. No one's really talking about him much. He has the opportunity, I think, to be Boston's kind of energy guy. We've looked at Peyton Pritchard kind of being that guy before, but Pritchard's getting a lot of minutes. He's going to be either a starter or a heavy minutes 6-man. So the Celtics need somebody off the bench that can inject some level of energy. And Minott is a 6'8" forward. He has size. He can be rangy. He can switch a lot. He's a guy that you can plug in at any point in the game. I'm curious to see if there's a defensive-minded closing lineup. Does he kind of become your wing stopper if the Celtics are up 10 with 2 minutes to go coming out of that last TV timeout? What lineup do the Celtics throw out there? And, Jordan Walsh, talking about Jordan Walsh, like Minott can come in and kind of surpass Jordan Walsh and kind of be what people thought Walsh would be. So I'm very curious to see. He's one of those big kind of preseason questions. This is going to be an important year for him. His NBA career kind of hangs in the balance. So he might be the most motivated guy on this team. So I think he's definitely a guy to watch.
Yeah, I like how you were describing what he can be, because that's what I was saying in my head. I'm like, that sounds like that's what Jordan Walsh should be. And at this point, we know his untapped athleticism. We know what his ability can bring. It's just not all tied together. So with the same question that Tay was asking about Minott, what do you make of Walsh and what this season can mean for him? And also the leap forward that, Joe Mazzulla wants to see from a prospect like him.
Yeah, Walsh, he's in a tough spot because this is his third, he just went through his third summer league. And I think by your third summer league, you're supposed to be a bit better than what he showed. But I do think that he sometimes gets into his own head. I think sometimes he's not nearly as measured and focused as he needs to be. So maybe he can take this last summer league and learn from some of those things and build on it. He needs to be more consistent with his jumper. He needs to be a little bit more in control, harness that lightning. He has the intensity. He has the athletic ability. He has the length to be a high-level defender. But offensively, can he be a contributor? Does he know where he's supposed to be? Does he know what he's supposed to be doing? Those are the things, those little details that I think hold him back. So he's going to be in a fight. I think he and Minott are in the fight for one spot this year. And I'm not saying that the other guy is going to get cut, but I think the loser of that fight is going to get a whole lot of DNP coaches' decisions.
Yeah, I think it's a big thing that we're talking about in the Boston media, too, about this Celtics defense and how they're going to guard this year. Losing a guy like KP, losing a guy like Drew Holiday, they did a lot of great things on the defensive end for those teams over the last 2 years. And Baylor Scheierman comes up in that conversation as well because people are going to ask about what can he do defensively. Can his offensive game kind of, sputter away those questions of the defense? Can he be so good on offense in this Joe Mazzulla system that we're not even worried as much about what he can do on the defensive end?
Well, I'll say that we always have to worry about what guys do on the defensive end because the Celtics are going to have to stop some teams. And defense is the number one question. So if you're 100%. A negative out there, then you're really putting yourself at a disadvantage. Now you can be a big positive just because of your offense. Scheierman has obviously the shooting ability. It's inconsistent right now at the NBA level. I'd like to see it be a little bit more consistent. But if he can kind of harness that a little bit and hit the three with a little bit more consistency, his passing is high level. He sees the floor well. He can, do something a little bit off the bounce. So he does have that potential that you're talking about of being such a good offensive player that you deal with some of the deficiencies. But even if there are deficiencies, he has to minimize that. You have to find a way to at least make a few defensive plays. You cannot be Trae Young out there. You have to be something suitable. And because the Celtics front line isn't good enough to make up for all of the guys in the perimeter getting burnt. And that's why Scheierman and Simons and Pritchard to a lesser degree, but those guys on the perimeter that have a tendency, if you're not playing good enough defense, if you're getting blown by, Cade can certainly block some shots. Boucher can block some shots, but they aren't elite defenders. And if you're just relying on Neemias Queta to erase all your mistakes, that's not going to work. And the same thing with Boucher. So that perimeter defense has to be strong, which means what? It means you're going to have to switch a lot, and that's going to put a lot of pressure on a guy like Scheierman. Lateral quickness, being able to switch, understanding things, making quick decisions. That's going to be a real premium for those guys.
Yeah, everything you say about Scheierman, we could say the same about Anthony Simons if he's on the floor.
Yeah.
But instead of asking about Simons, you brought it up, and exactly, that's my thing when we talk about these perimeter guys. How does this front court break down? And what happens with the center position? Because that's asking a lot of Queta. Luka Garza is not that type of defender. Amari Williams is just a rookie. Boucher is good, but he doesn't serve as a true rim protector and a true five. What can you make of what this front court can be for the Celtics as currently constructed?
It's a tough one. It's a tough one. Yeah. Brad Stevens, look, I love Brad. Brad finds a way to say things positively in most cases. But over the summer when he was asked about the front court, he basically said, I'm paraphrasing, they're not the best on paper, so they're going to have to prove a lot of people wrong. And if that's the most complimentary thing that Brad can say, you got some issues in the front court.
Yeah.
Queta he's a tough read for me because I'm not the biggest Queta guy. I don't like the way he moves. I think that he's a little slow getting from point A to point B. He can move laterally okay, but for some reason up and down, he just the stopping and restarting is very difficult for him. But he picked up the game late. He is developing fairly quickly. He's in his prime now. He just had a really good Eurobasket tournament. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I think he's your penciled in starter. But because you have Boucher, who's a smaller guy, he can block some shots. You have, I think, situational front court lineups. You need to go small and fly around and switch 1 through 5. Then you can throw Boucher out there for a little bit. You can't switch 1 through 5 with Cade. You go 1 through 4, and that's a different level of defense. The Celtics are going to need to force some turnovers, so you got to put a lineup out there defensively that's going to be able to fly around, that's going to be smart enough to know when to jump into a passing lane, but also not going to be reckless with it and give up a lot of back cuts and blow-bys. So that front court, I'm not like Luka Garza. Same thing I was saying before with other guys. You got to figure anything out defensively. So that's going to be super important. And Cade has to stay on the floor, right? He has to stay healthy enough to be a 25-minute-a-night guy for the Celtics. So that's certainly something that's going to be in question.
I love hearing you talk about that because that sounds like the exact same conversation that George and I just had that we came up
last
to
episode.
Literally last episode. So it's perfect that you went there. You brought up Cade and you brought up Eurobasket, and I love that you brought it up, and I know that you watch. He started to see a little bit of that touch show, a little extending out to 15 foot, extending out to a little bit of the three-point line.
He hit a 3.
Do you think that's something we could possibly see him start to develop over the year with the Celtics this season?
Look, I've watched him shoot tons of 3-pointers, after practice. It's
right.
The Celtics, the Celtics have their big men shooting those threes because you never know, right? An end of shot clock situation, those 1 or 2 possessions that could happen in a game, you want to have a guy feel comfortable in that. So if Cade is stuck, which he was in that spot, in that one, he made that one crossover to the left. I forget against whom, but he had a crossover to the left, hit a jumper from the left elbow. That was against the end of the shot clock. You have to encourage these guys to feel comfortable making those plays. So, yeah, if you picture the Celtics starting lineup with Derek White and Jaylen Brown and whomever else. You can pick Anthony Simons and Sam Hauser, whomever. And Cade is there, and all the defensive pressure is around everybody, and they're doubling and switching and blah, blah, blah. And the Celtics have gone through 2-3 actions, and Cade is the only guy open. He gets it with 2 seconds on the shot clock. That's going to be a spot where you're like, hey, buddy, we trust you to make a play here. He's not going to be making that play at 18 seconds on the shot clock, though. So I don't think they're going to develop him into a stretch big, but I think he's been left all alone, and hey, you know what? Once a game, if you want to shoot that Draymond Green defense type, all alone, sure.
Right,
you want to shoot that or end of shot clock, sure. I don't think he's going to develop into anything more than that. But look, that confidence, if he has the confidence in that helps your touch. That helps things around the basket. You can make that spin move and fade away, and if you feel confident in that shot, that goes a long way in those things falling.
We're talking about what this season can mean for a Walsh, a Minott, a Nimish Cade. What, John, do you think this season could mean for Joe Mazzulla? Because he has Derek White, he has Jaylen Brown. We'll see if Tatum even returns to a court this season. But with all these moving parts and how we talk about the front court, something we talk about could be the limitations, and Tay and I touched on it. It's all potential with the front court, like you said, how Brad Stevens basically mentioned. But also a lot of it is we could see Joe Mazzulla put on a masterclass as a head coach because there's going to be so many moving parts, even post-trade deadline with this lineup. What do you expect from Joe Mazzulla this season and what he can showcase for himself as a NBA championship head coach? But this will definitely be his most challenging season leading the Celtics.
So when I look at a good head coach, I see a guy who can coach the players that he has. And going to like the elite names, there's a Mike D'Antoni who had his system, but he coached his system, and you had to get the players that fit his system. But when you look at Greg Popovich and the Spurs, they went from winning a couple of titles with a purely defensive team to switching to a mainly offensive team, and that was the beautiful game Spurs that Brad Stevens is enamored with. All of that is to say that when you can adjust your style to the players that you have and understand we don't have in Boston this season the same amount of three-point shooting. So you can't have the same type of attitude, the spacing. You have to find different ways to score. There has to be more cutting. There has to be more ball movement. You have to start the play earlier in the shot clock, because last year's team, the year before, you could walk the ball down and survey the floor, and Tatum could create his own shot. Jalen could. Derek White could. Drew could. So that's not necessarily available in the same way it is this year. So more picks, more creative play calling, all of those things are going to be part of what Joe Mazzulla is throwing out there. So it's not going to be 53 pointers a game. Might happen some nights when the shots are falling and maybe the way they're being defended, but I expect Joe Mazzulla to adjust to the players that he has, and that's going to mean a little bit of a different defensive style, a lot more attempts to force turnovers, to get out and run, a lot more up-tempo basketball, not as much walking the ball up the floor, and cuts, so you can catch the defense sleeping.
All right, so look, you talked about Joe Mazzulla, what he has to do this year. We got Jason Tatum out. JB's going to be fighting back from his injury, obviously, trying to figure out who he is in this league as an opportunity to be a 1A. We talked about all those young wings before. What would it take for a guy like Scheierman, Walsh, Minott, Gonzalez to be a part of that group when that two-headed monster comes back eventually down the road?
Yeah, well, I think when we're talking about these guys this year trying to find a spot next year, you have to show that you are a complementary piece, which means you're aware of how Jalen plays, you're aware of how Jason plays, and side note, this is kind of why if I think it'd be a good thing if Jason is fully cleared, not rushing him back, fully cleared to come back this year at some point, maybe in March. I think that would be a positive for him, a positive for the team, because then you could run some of these guys like, hey, here's an opportunity for a month in limited minutes, nothing crazy, to, hey, let's run, some more Minott next to Jason Tatum. Is that a lineup that works? Can you run? What's a pick and roll with Luka Garza look like? All of those things I think would be important, again, if he's fully cleared. But you got to find a way to be able to make your contribution. So if you're a shooter like Scheierman, you got to hit those shots consistently. You got to know what you're doing when they close out hard on you. Are you making the right play? Are you finding the right players? Are you making good decisions quickly? So that's, I think, what all of these guys are going to be facing. It's effort, it's execution, it's intelligence. You got to display all that at a pretty high level, because when next season, when everything's in place, you got Jalen and Jason that are your primary guys, and you have to be able to support them.
All right, I think George doesn't have another one. I got to ask you one last one before I let you go. Put a stamp on it, all right? These four dudes that we're talking about, Gonzalez, Minott, Scheierman, Walsh. Who takes the biggest jump this season? Who takes the biggest leap?
So I'm going to say it's Scheierman. So we haven't talked much about Gonzalez because I just don't think he's ready yet.
Yep. Fair.
I am fair. Yeah, I'm high on him though. So even though I'm not talking about Hugo Gonzalez, I think he, spend this year in Maine. I don't think he has to be part of this group that's trying to figure things out. I think he needs to just mature a little bit, figure out the NBA game, speed, physicality, all of that stuff. Once you get up to that, I think his basketball instincts are really good. I don't have the same questions about him fitting in. I just think he gets it. He feels it. I can kind of see that with him. So he's good, just not this year. Let him get ready. Not a problem. Scheierman and Minott, I think I'll throw Minott in there because, again, people aren't talking about them. But I'm not out on Walsh. But if I'm at the party, I'm like finishing my drink. I'm looking at my watch. I'm trying to see who else is leaving. So I'm starting to get myself up to be like, okay, I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to say goodbye. Now if a banger comes on, I'll stick around and dance. So if Jordan Walsh puts on a banger, I'll stick around. We'll hang out. We'll have a party some more.
Have one more, two more.
You know what I mean? It's up to him to make me want to stay. I think Scheierman has a chance to make a really big leap. If year 1 to year 2, like I said before, consistency in shooting, good decision making. That passing, I think, is already at NBA level. I think he's just got the easiest kind of game that you can slide in with these guys and have it just fit. Whatever he needs to do, I think it's there. But I'm really like I'm gonna start working. I think one of the first things when training camp comes around is I want to talk to Minott because I want to get a sense of how he's thinking, and I think he can just be like he might be this year's cult hero. You know what I mean? That guy that's like, people chanting his name when it's time to get him in. So I like what he can do as well.
Luke Cornett's gone, so they need someone to step into that role.
Yeah.
Who's going to be that guy that the fans rally around in that way of the cult hero? Well, the question I want to end with on this, because you brought him up to begin, was an Anthony Simons. Who's here, who's gone, do you think, after the trade deadline in February? Because the team we're looking at to break training camp, the team we're looking at when it's January as well, could be very different to the one you allude to if Tatum is ready. But in general, that team that's in March, because there could be a lot of additions. Front court could be better, but then guys may be gone. Sam Hauser, Anthony Simons, maybe guys like that.
It's hard to say because I want to just say like that there's no way Simons lasts the full year. Mm-hmm. But if he is competent defensively, okay, that's a big plus. He's an underrated passer. He is a pretty elite scorer. There is a world where he plays his way onto the Celtics, and maybe they make a decision to keep him moving forward. I'm not saying that's likely, but I'm not going to rule that out either. So, like any of these guys, I think could go. You have the ancillary moves of Jordan Walsh, Xavier Tillman, trade them so you can just cut salary. They're not playing, and you want to save on the tax bill. You can do that. You have, if Luka Garza isn't figuring it out, you can move him and try something. The only big move that can be made at the deadline, like the big headline grabbing move, would be Simons. And if he plays his way into a high level kind of combination, like not two-way player, but competent defensively, and the team the Celtics are trading with has a big that they can bring back, I think that would work. We're past, I think, the moment of Simons is just going to move just so we can get less salary in and cut. Like, I don't think Simons is the cost-cutting guy anymore. I think Boston has something here with him. They feel like they can develop him a little bit. They feel like he has the potential to improve his stock. So if they can move him and bring back a high level player, a player of equal quality that's just at a different position, then that's what they would do. So I think if anything happens at the deadline, something like that would be it.
Yeah, he has a long way to prove himself and up his value in the return as well. He's John Karalis of the Boston Sports Journal. Catch him covering the Celtics. John, I also want to shout out the jerseys in the back. First Emerson grad to go pro. He played in the Greek League. Those are one of ones in the back, my man. I love your Zoom background. You got a quick good story from your years pro out in Greece, like a cool story, anything crazy that happened while out there?
Yeah. I have one quick story where we were playing. I was hurt, so I was on the bench for this one. We were playing on the road. I forget like the little details of what was happening, but the refs were bad. The refs were bad.
Of course. Former player, refs sucked.
Yeah, the refs sucked. So it got so bad on both sides that one of the referees quit in the middle of the game. Just up and left. And we were like looking around like, what are we doing? Like, he didn't get hurt. He didn't get sick. He just said, screw this, I'm gone. And he left. And I've never seen that before. Obviously, I don't think anybody has, but yeah, that was one of the wildest things I've seen on a basketball court.
I can't imagine how you handle that. I think that's the purity of Euro basketball too, though, because we know those game day environments are next level as well.
Oh man, it's crazy. And back then, it was like everybody was smoking. You know, like when, it's hilarious. I think back on it, but like, you know, when you're coming up, and I always was told like, hey, when you're not in the game, sit next to the coach, because when somebody screws up, the coach is going to grab the first guy he sees and say, go get him out, and you want to get back in the game. But both the head coach and the assistant coach were smoking the whole game, like, and it just. I'm like, I'm going to get emphysema just sitting here waiting to get in the game. I'm going to go sit at the end of the bench. I don't care if I never play again. I think it's healthier for me to sit down there than it is over here. By the end of the game, at the top of the arena, there was like a film of like white smoke. It's just like a haze in there. So it was wild. That was some wild time.
It's an experience I have to catch. Again, he's John Karalis, Boston Sports Journal. Appreciate taking the time, John. Can't wait to see your coverage of the Celtics this season. Thanks for coming on. Hold my banner, my man. Until next time.
You got it. Thanks, guys.
All right, we'll take a quick break. Welcome back to Hold My Banner. ESPN released power rankings of each NBA's team's 3-year outlook. 3 years. Not this year, not next, 3. So through the 27-28 season. They had the Celtics ranked 13th, down from second last season. I mean, I'm not shocked. So there are multiple levels to this one, where if they're looking through the 27-28 season, that would be Jason Tatum's second full season back from the torn Achilles.
Yep.
Tatum, Brown, White, Hauser, Pritchard, all would still be under contract.
Yep.
And then that's basically it. I think the big one looming, though, is all those guys can be under contract. With the second apron being real now, it's really going to be hard to keep Tatum, Brown, and White on the same team and fill out the entire roster. I also don't think Sam Hauser will still be here by then. But what do you think of, let's start with this, Tay, the outlook of they are the 13th best NBA team with the next 3-year window, over the course of the next 3 seasons.
I think it's crazy. I think they're overreacting
I think they're better than 13.
to the Jason Tatum injury.
Especially in Tatum's second full season back from the Achilles tear. There's the first one. By the second, if him and Brown are still there, that's a top 5 team when they have them together.
Now, this is a bunch of NBA writers who have come together to make this list and make this ranking and all this other stuff. And I would like to assume that they were a little bit smarter and had a little bit more foresight last year, because you and I sat here across from each other, or me and Travis sat here from across from each other, and we were like, man, going into last season, we're like, can they keep this team together? Because we saw the second apron coming. We saw the contracts, the $330 million guys. We talked about it over and over and over again.
Before even last season began, you and I were the guys of like, this is Drew's last year.
Right.
The second they won the chip, and I love me some Drew Holiday, one of my favorite all-time players to watch. But I knew, when you looked at the contract breakdown, exactly that.
Right, so if they had them 2 coming in the last season
Yep.
with the next 3 years ahead of time, they already knew that there was going to be a different Boston Celtics team. Maybe they didn't think Al Horford would dip, you know what I mean? But I think we had the questions about retirement and last year being his last year going into last season, you know what I'm saying? So that was out. We said Drew was out. We knew KP was probably gone. We knew 2 of the 3, right? 2 of the 3 of the KP, Drew Holiday, Derek White, the $30 million guys, as we like to call them. We're going to be out of this Boston Celtics lineup in 25-26 no matter what. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, does the Tatum injury slow them down a little bit? Yes, but if there's a superstar that can bounce back from an Achilles, a guy like Jason Tatum with his finesse, with his ability to play out on the perimeter, his jump shooting ability, his ability to shoot the mid-range, and be strong up top and physical on that aspect, he will be just fine coming back from an injury. I don't think he will be top 3 MVP candidate or top 4, whatever he finishes in over the last couple of years. But this dude, I feel like can still be a top 10 MVP caliber guy for the Boston Celtics. And that experience and winning goes a long way in this league.
It's also a guy, too, where I think the big part in Tatum's recovery, he doesn't all of a sudden have to learn how to take care of his body.
Right.
Because he's been doing that. I got here in 2021. And that was, August 2021, so the 21-22 season, the run against Warriors, my first time covering the Celtics day to day. And literally before the season, I remember seeing images, like the pictures and the workout videos, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum were posting like, oh, they put on weight, like they learned how to live.
Right.
Same, we saw that random jump by Giannis where he got yoked out of nowhere. He was, all these guys are big, but then there's a matter of taking your workouts serious. You go to Celtics games, I go to Celtics games. You have to wait an hour, maybe an hour and a half sometimes for Tatum to speak at the podium because they get done with the game and work out after immediately. That's part of their recovery. So the underrated part with this is that's a guy with a really serious injury, really good game, but he doesn't all of a sudden have to learn what work ethic routine is away from basketball in a weight room. That's a big thing, I think, in Jason Tatum's overall recovery. On top of it, I've said it, you've said it, I'm not worried about his ability. Will he be the same Jason Tatum? No. But will he still be an elite player? Yes, because he doesn't have to live above the rim. He doesn't have to rely on explosiveness and athleticism. He's so technically sound.
Right.
So when I look at this 3-year window, even the second he's back for his first full season, I go back to the Celtics being contenders because of how the East breaks down, because of how good Tatum and Brown are. And also with this, when you go with the 3-year outlook, and as I broke down, here are the players that will be under contract. There's 5 guys I named. Brad Stevens has to enter this equation too. Yeah. The way he's worked, trade deadlines, free agency, the way the Boston Celtics, Joe Mazzulla and Sam Cassell have worked along with player development, that this will be a team. The second I'm saying Tatum is back for a full go. John Karalis, we just had him on saying, minutes restriction. The second it's no, Tatum's back. Don't worry. Kelly's behind him. He's good. He's back. The moment that happens, to me, they are once again a top 5 team in the league because of Tatum, Brown, and then the trust you have in the front office. Like, that matters with this conversation with this team.
Right, and then here's the thing. I look at this list, right, and you got to always look at who's around them, right?
Yeah.
And stack it up against them. The Atlanta Hawks are at 12. And if you're going to tell me they were 23 coming in the last season and they're at 12 on this list now, you're overreacting. And here's the thing, right? We know JB wants to be here. We know JT wants to be here for now, at least, right? Throughout their contracts. They haven't made any conversations out there about them possibly leaving. I know we talked about, the possibility of JB going to the Hawks, but we know he's going to be here for the Boston Celtics throughout this contract, at least throughout the last couple years of the contract. We'll see what happens after that. Does Trae Young even want to be an Atlanta Hawk? Like, honestly,
no.
And so when we're over here looking at what they can do this year, we're both high on the Atlanta Hawks. We just had their season preview.
This is a 3-year outlook.
Right. What's going to happen in year 2 for the Atlanta Hawks?
Yep.
What's going to happen in year 3? Is KP even going to stay healthy for them this year? There's a lot of question marks surrounding this team and that front office, which had them at 23 going into last season. So I think they're just overreacting to the landscape of what the NBA is right now, some of these writers, because they're human and they can do that. But as far as the 3-year outlook, this team is a lot better than the 13th best team in the league.
It's also, too, looking at the potential cap space that can open up. And not a lot of that is there with the second apron because Tatum, Brown, and White.
Right.
To be honest, 3 years from now, I don't think Derek White is still a Celtic.
Right.
If they had to pick and they had the tough conversations, we got to keep 2 of the 3, it's going to be Brown and Tatum every single time. Unless one of those 3 guys themselves goes, trade me, I want out of here, I want to be with a different team, I want to be my own guy, whatever it may be. But you can't predict that. And that's what's hard to forecast it 3 years down the road. But what you can forecast is a sound front office and franchise, a good head coach, a good coaching staff. And same thing I bring up Sam Cassell and his player development. He may not be here 3 years from now because he could be a head coach somewhere.
He could.
Because that's a guy that could be in line for that. The one that made me laugh looking at the list is the LA Clippers are 5.
Oh, yeah, I thought you were going to go with another Western Conference team. I was going to say the Warriors. The Warriors at 6.
At 6. That too.
Is blasphemous, dude.
Yes.
They don't even know what they're doing this offseason. Let alone 3 years from now.
Jonathan Kuminga was like, just give me the player option, I'll show up.
Right.
Stop the team. Like, they don't want Jonathan Kuminga, who's such untapped potential, and could be a Jaylen Brown 2.0.
Absolutely.
Right? It is literally the 5-6, but I wanted to go with the Clippers because literally as stuff's more and more coming out from Pablo Torre, just doing the work, man.
Yes.
It's like that team is going to pay the price long term if they are found guilty of allegedly circumventing the salary cap. Yeah. But when you talk about the Warriors, yes, at 6 too. Steph's in year 17.
Yes.
How much longer can anyone tolerate Draymond Green?
Right.
How much longer can you deal with Podminsky not stepping up and being what you drafted him to be? And then you bring up the Kumingas. And then overall, it's the same thing. Like, Jimmy Butler's not going to be there 3 years from now. That's the same thing. Warriors at 6 jumped out at me, too. It's funny.
And it's funny because the way I look at this, right, at least the way I look at this list is like, all right, the goal for everybody should be to try to win a championship, right?
Yeah.
And I think the way this list now, there's a lot of different rankings and categories, but essentially, who's best positioned to go win one and over the next 3 years, right? And you're gonna sit here and tell me, you're gonna sit here and tell me today that the Warriors, the Clippers, or the Hawks are best positioned to go win one over the next 3 years over a Boston Celtics team. I think this Boston Celtics team is getting a lot of hate in just the national media right now, because it's obviously easy to hate on Boston, and people are now going to wonder about, can JB and JT coexist and blah, 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 and JT's going to be sitting down and JB's going to be the team, and can they do this? And I'm over it, dude. They showed that they can go win a championship together. You can say, okay, they had KP. KP wasn't even there for most of the championship.
He played a quarter, like a game and a half.
Drew Holiday and Al Horford, 100% great players, meaningful players into what they did. But that doesn't mean they can't be replaced, dude.
Yes.
They can find that. And if I can trust any GM in this league, there's a lot of great ones. There they are. I trust Brad Stevens to go figure it out and put talent together, because that's the one thing that he's had ever since he's been the GM of this team. Talent, talent.
I like that you put that in a good way to look at it, is like forecast the next 3 years how good they'll be, but it's who's going to win a ring over the next three.
Right.
It's also having the Clippers and the Warriors over the Spurs.
Right.
Over the Timberwolves.
Over the Timberwolves, yeah. I was about to say that as well, dude.
And it's even having, again, it's the Warriors for me, more of on the
even over the Lakers. Like, even the
That's exactly what I was about to
Clippers and
say.
Warriors over the Lakers is crazy.
No hate, and I like to hate on the Lakers because it's still like just some of their
it's easy.
personnel. It's very easy.
It's very easy.
A lot of the personnel decision is very questionable, but it's also who's making the decisions on the personnel.
Yeah.
But they have Luka.
Right.
And they have skinny Luka now.
Right.
And like, how can you not take that into account? Again, to your point, and I like how you put a definition on it in a way where there's a very subjective way to define this of who can win a ring over the next three.
Yeah.
To have the Clippers, who you have a guy that never shows up and plays consistently, and Jimmy Harden in the playoffs.
Yep.
To have the Warriors with the question marks over the Spurs, Timberwolves, and Lakers. To get away from the Celtics combo over those three, that's what didn't make sense to me on this one.
Not at all. If this would have came out like a month ago, before the Kawhi stuff, it would have made a little more sense.
Even Cavs at 4. Like, is Donovan Mitchell still going to be there? Honestly.
But they have an opportunity to go win one this year. I will give them that.
Fair.
So, whatever. We'll get into some team previews now.
One team that won't get one this year, I could confidently say, is the Chicago Bulls. We'll be previewing them coming up after the break right here on Hold My Banner, our Eastern Conference Outlook, talking Chicago Bulls, the most mid-team in pro sports. Oh, hello. Welcome back to Hold My Banner. And our favorite preview, my favorite preview personally, this preseason, the Chicago Bulls squad pulled up to watch Coach Billy Donovan officially join the Hoop Hall. Great induction. I mean, great coach. And honestly, like, great businessman, too, because as long as
fantastic businessman.
As long as he's making the playing tournament, his boss is happy. That man's fine with it. And instead of going back to college ball, where he won an Natty, too, he's just chilling, catching those NBA checks. So quick recap on the Chicago Bulls' last 3 seasons. 2022-2023, the Chicago Bulls went 40-42, finished 10th in the East, and eliminated by the Heat in the play-in tournament.
Yo, you don't got to do them like this.
In 2023-2024, the Chicago Bulls won 39 games, finished 9th in the East, eliminated by the Heat in the play-in tournament. And in 2024-2025, my friends, the the Chicago Bulls won 39 games, finished 9th in the East, and were eliminated by the Heat in the play-in tournament. 10th, 9th, 3 straight play-in tournament appearances, 3 straight eliminations by the Miami Heat, and their owner is okay with that. It's all his fault. It's not Billy Donovan's fault. It's not Io DeSumo's fault. It's not Kobe White's fault. It's not Ountae Campbell's fault. My fault. If you're a Chicago fan, it's not your fault. It is the fault of your awful, awful owner who accepts mid. All right, let's get into the preview, man. I'm excited to talk about this.
Is there anything else that's needed to be said? Look, dude, I always make the joke, especially when Travis is on the show, because he always is thinking nefarious things. Like, what does Billy Donovan know about someone in that ownership group that is keeping him around with this team? Now, I like Billy Donovan. I think he did a great job with that Florida team. Shout out for him building up Al Horford and getting Al Horford over here to Boston and helping us win the championship in 24. But man, oh man, are you right. Any other coach, literally, any other coach in the league, he would be fired. There's guys in this league who win.
Yes.
And get canned.
Tom Thibodeau just got fired.
After taking the Knicks to the furthest they've ever been in the
25 years.
In 25
Jerry
years.
Reinsdorf does not care to win. He cares to get that literal first-round playoff tournament, the extra ticket sales, whatever it may be. All he cares about is being just good enough just breaking even and just getting. That's all he cares about.
All right, bro. We can do this all day. So I actually want to talk about this team and not just their coach and their owner and blah, blah, blah.
And it's nothing against Billy Donovan.
Right. No. Good
If
for
you're going to
him.
let me keep collecting checks, not actually, like, you don't need me to do my job to my full potential, but I'm doing it just good enough, I'll take it.
Hey, if Billy Donovan wants to hire me as an assistant today, I'm available. What's up, Billy?
It's the same thing I say for Tom Brady. Like, he's terrible in the booth.
Yes.
But if you're going to pay me $37.5 million, I will gladly be terrible in front of the entire United States.
Hey, I'll take it. Look, all right, let's talk about their actual team. Now, they finally re-signed Josh Giddey. We got to talk about
4 years, $100 million.
the Giddler. We got to talk about him for a second, unfortunately. Josh Giddey had a comeback season
He
last
did.
year.
Pushes a pace, runs out of offense.
And I thought that trade was a win-win trade. I thought it was a situation where the Thunder needed a guard who was going to come in, 3-and-D, veteran presence.
Actually shoot, defend,
Right.
Alex Caruso.
Alex Caruso, he was huge throughout the finals for them and throughout the playoffs and throughout the year for them. So that was a huge win for them. The Chicago Bulls finally got them a player who looks, at least in my opinion, like a fringe all-star, a guy who can be there for them. The facilitating finally ticked up. We saw it when he played in the Olympics. When he had the ball in his hands, he was magic. You know what I mean? He can make shots with the ball in his hands. He's not a catch-and-shoot guy. Perfect situation for him. Perfect place for him to play at. Can he repeat that, George? Do you think that he can repeat that now that he's a Chicago Bull?
I think so, and it's also with the guys that are around him. Like, the construction of this team is actually not that bad.
Right.
It's Giddey, Kobe White, Isaac Okoro, who they traded for.
Yeah.
It's a big addition at the 3, get
Lost
a good
Lonzo
wing.
Ball, which I did like them having Lonzo, but you
Yep.
know, the health and things.
Right,
of that
exactly.
nature. Right.
They've re-signed Trey Jones to keep him there.
Yep.
Let's see if Ayo Dosunmu can make a step forward. There's also a team that, again, won just 39 games, got to the play-in, right after Patrick Williams signed that fat extension, had the worst season of his career. So can he get back to being the guy that you want to extend?
Right.
But with Josh Giddey, it's a guy that can push the pace, can be your primary ball handler, can initiate an offensive flow as well, can run it in the full court or the half court.
Yeah.
And everything you said, what he flashed when he's playing international ball, it's also, that's why the Oklahoma City Thunder drafted him,
Right.
and why they liked him, and that's why that guy was an important piece in what they thought for their future.
Right.
So there is that foundation there he could build off on. And getting Giddey for 4 years, $100 million, that's a really good deal.
It's a great deal. I wanted him here for that. Honestly,
Yeah.
I thought about considering having him as a Boston Celtics for that because he does do a lot of great things, especially in a year without a Tatum. You know what I mean? With the ball in his hands. He does understand pick and roll at a high level. He can make every pass. He is an elite top 5 level passer in this league. And then he showed us the ability to make shots and be clutch also for that team. I know everyone remembers that shot that he made against the Lakers in Chicago. And he actually
watched it like 200 times.
Right. Well, he made a couple. I think he beat the Lakers twice on late game heroics. So this is a guy who has stepped up in a lot of different ways. And what they did, I have to applaud. They went and surrounded him with shooters.
Yeah.
They went and got Kevin Huerter. That was a huge ad for them. You know what I mean? Montes Buzelis continued to show development over the last year in his shooting ability. Isaac Okoro is supposed to be a 3-and-D guy in this league. We have to see if guys like Dalen Terry can continue to grow. We have to see if Patrick Williams can finally take a little bit of the leap that they thought he was going to take.
Always the flashes in the highlights with him from Florida State days. Man.
Yeah, and then having Zach Collins there as a backup big who can stretch the floor a little bit as well. They have a good solid foundation, but they're still trash. I'm just being honest.
They have the makeup of literally what they are, maybe better, a 43-win team. Just better than 500. But is that the point of they do have the makeup, though, of a team that should win a play-in tournament,
right?
Should make the first round interesting. Who's their guy that is their closer in a playoff series?
Yes.
Who needs the guy's closer? I don't know. Kobe White can take shots. He could be a bucket, but
they're hoping it's Josh Giddey. They're hoping it's Josh Giddey.
And I don't think he's that guy.
And based on a small sample size, maybe he can be.
On 4 years,
you might be right.
4 years, $100 million. I would take that risk with Josh Giddey. They didn't give him 30. They didn't give him 40.
Finally, they figured that out after paying Zach LaVine and Vucevic and DeRozan. They finally figured that out. All right, this team had 39 wins last year. They're pegged as a team that's supposed to have 32.
No.
By Vegas. 32.5 is the line. Over or under.
What do they know that we don't know?
I think I'm with Vegas. I think Chicago's going under that.
I would go over.
Okay.
I think this is like a 37-win team. I mean, I just said they could be 42.
Maybe.
If they had 39 last year,
who's guarding
still
on this
figuring
team?
everything out.
Who's playing defense on this team?
Javon Carter.
Get out of here, dude.
It's fair on that end.
The
but with
defensively, they're going to be horrible.
And it's also with Isaac Okoro, you don't know if he's going to be healthy.
Is he going to be healthy? Is he going to be the 3-and-D wing that he was drafted to be? You know what I mean? I don't know.
But I think with what the scoring ability they have you mentioned Kevin Hoarder, Ayo Dosunmu off the bench.
Hopefully Ayo
they could get up and they can keep up with
too,
teams.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But they're going to need guys like Dalen Terry to step it up. It's been a lot of guys that they've drafted over the last 5 years or so that we've been like, man, this dude has the potential.
Yeah.
But can they go and do
I think there's one thing to say of who can they defend, and there's another of like, can they get to 43 wins? I think they're better than 33 wins. That's the way I look at this team.
We'll see.
30 for you?
Yeah, 30.
Going under.
Yeah, I'm out.
Right. One of us opened up ripping the whole franchise.
That was you.
Jerry Reinsdorf, just sell. You're not going to. I know you're not.
All right, let's get to the next one. Just get to the next preview,
We'll do a quick break. We'll be right back on Hold My Banner. Welcome back to Hold My Banner. 35 days until opening night.
Technically 34 at this point.
Oh,
I think
facts.
this tweet was yesterday. All right, we'll give them, whatever.
34 days until opening night for the Detroit Pistons. Yeah. One of the darlings of last year's run. Awesome to see a team take a step forward.
Yeah.
This is a team that can be very dangerous.
Yeah, shout out Tolu Smith. You got to shout out the guy who's on the page.
Fact,
you know what I'm saying? Shout out Tolu Smith. But we're not going to be talking much Tolu Smith right now.
Well, the biggest question is, how do they overcome losing Lindy Waters III to the Spurs? I don't know how this team could bounce. I just had to. Lindy Waters just sounds like the most made-up name ever.
Oh,
in reality, Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey could be fully healthy, be a really good catch-and-shoot three-point shooter. Oscar Thompson, full season as an elite defender, just attacking like ball handlers.
Yeah.
Tobias Harris, Jalen Duran. They obviously are dealing with a lot with Malik Beasley and whatever could happen with him.
Whatever's going on with that, yeah.
Wild, but a team. Karis LeVert, Duncan Robinson, throwing him in as a shooter to add to it. Isaiah Stewart, B-Ball Paul. Like, I love the Pistons. I love Cade Cunningham. I love the run.
Yeah.
When the Detroit Pistons are relevant, NBA basketball is better. I like this team a lot. I can see a similar type run for them, to summarize it quick, Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, I could see, especially with, the Pacers dealing with the issues that they're dealing with, the Celtics dealing with the issues that they're dealing with, the Bucks, Giannis.
You know me, every time, it's no issues, but we don't know.
And Miles Turner and who else, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, with those three teams obviously opening up the East, this team going into a 6th seed last year and making a run and pushing the Knicks into a 7-game series, they're ready to take a leap. Without Jaden Ivey, we have to mention that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, what more can you say about this team? It's health. It was the question going into last year. It's the question coming in this year. Can this team stay healthy enough to make the leaps that we saw them make, right? If Cade Cunningham is available for this team, if Jaden Ivey is available for this team, if Oscar Thompson is available for this team, I don't see any issues with this team being even better than they were last year. Like, this might be a team that we're talking about, like how we looked at some of those Western Conference teams in the past, like the Memphis Grizzlies. I think the Kings did it one year where they just shot up to a 2 seed out of nowhere, and everybody was like, whoa.
Yep.
This team, we didn't expect them to be that good. This Detroit Pistons team, with the way that they guard on the defensive end, with the scoring that they've now uptick and added, like you said, and guys with Karis LeVert and Duncan Robinson, man, this team could be a team that we're looking at the end of the season and a shaky East with 50-plus wins and then a 2 or 3 seed, and I wouldn't be shocked at all.
It's a team that can legitimately go 9 deep, I feel like. With the shooting they have, it just all hinders on health. And Jaden Ivey, before he went down, was an exceptional catch-and-shoot three-point shooter. And that's a guy that's a high basketball IQ. He was obviously a point guard at Purdue when he was in college. The main ball handler on a really good team. It's a mix of having the skill and the experience of like a Cade Cunningham with the raw talent and athleticism. And I don't like using the term raw with him actually anymore, but like Oscar Thompson, just a sick athlete and an elite level at that point, can be a great defender and still make leaps forward in his offensive game. But what we saw Cunningham and Jalen Duran do to teams over a 7-game series where you cannot figure them out on the pick and roll, they have a lot of levels to them. A lot of it hinders with health. 44 wins last season, took the Knicks 7 games, lost in the first round, but this is a team legitimately, I put their ceiling at Eastern Conference Finals.
What I love about this Detroit Pistons team is that they essentially went out and said, okay, let's lean into our identity. We're Detroit. Bad boy era, you know what I mean? Chauncey Billups era. They were the team that was mean. They had the guy that'll fight you, you know what I'm saying? They had Bill Laimbeer. They had Rasheed Wallace. Those were the guys that would, come out. Even Ben Wallace, obviously, will fight you. Now they got the guys in Isaiah Stewart, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duran, Oscar Thompson, you know what I'm saying? They will fight you. And then At the top, they got a guy in Cade Cunningham who's also just a guy who can score in every way. You love that kind of guy who can, okay, you need me to get assists tonight? Got you.
Exactly.
You need me to get mid-range buckets or get to the rim and be grimy? Got you. You need me to be a finesse player tonight? All right, I got you. They have the makeup of a team that could be a problem. We talked about the futures of 3 years in the future.
This team.
Man, this team right here could be a team that I think dynasty era is dead, but 5-6 years from now, we could be talking dynasty with this Detroit Pistons team. We really could.
This is a team where when your best player is willing to take on whatever roles needed to win that night, the rest of the team does it. And that's a guy that can drop 45 and win a game for you. Like you said, he'll be the floor general, be a throwback point guard too. He does not care.
Yeah.
And it rubs off on the rest of them.
If you're the East, hey, I'm letting you know right now. Let me look into this camera right here. Get your licks in now. Like, you better, beat them up as much as you can now, because I can tell you in a couple years, they're going to remember and they're going to be a problem to deal with.
And this is with the Detroit team that is coming too. Like Marcus Sasser, good developmental guard out of Houston. He'll only get better potentially down the road.
Right.
But it's like the guys they got now, they got good 9 deep as well. He's on. Oh, wait, real quick. So what's the win total that they got for the Pistons?
They had, let me look real quick. 46 and a half. And they were 49 last year?
No, 44 wins.
44 last year, yeah.
44
last
wins,
year.
bounce in the first round. I'm going to take so it's 46 and a half?
46 and a half. Quick.
I was going to put 47 wins. So I like this. It sounds like we'll sweat it a little, banking on health. But if they're healthy, it's a 50-win team, actually.
Yeah, I'm going over 46. I don't know, probably 50, but over.
All right. We'll be wearing Pistons jerseys come like late this upcoming season. He's Ountae Campbell. I'm George Balekji. This is Hold My Banner. You guys know where to catch us Tuesdays, Thursdays, 1 to 2 p.m. on Nest Nation. Catch us on YouTube as well. Shout out our guy John Karalis hopping on from Boston Sports Journal. Check him out. Check Kay and myself out on social media. Hold My Banner. We'll see you guys next week.